Welcome back to Chapter 5 and the last video of Chapter 5. In this one we'll be wrapping things up with lists. First things first, we want to talk about what lists are. In HTML there are three different types of lists. You have the unordered list, things that don't require a specific order such as grocery list, to-dos, or anything else that just needs a little check mark next to it. You have ordered lists. These are numbered or lettered lists. We'll get to that in just a minute. These are not automatically sorted. I want to make that clear. For a lot of people, they think that if they just have a list that is an ordered list, it will be automatically sorted for them. HTML is smart. It's not that smart. We don't have the capability to sort lists right now. So ordered lists mean that it's just going to be ordered in the numerical or the lettered value of the list item. It is not automatically sorted. And the last one are description or data lists. Data lists is kind of a archaic term, but it's still tossed around for some different developers. So description or data lists, these are used to display data, terms, or anything else that needs sort of a definition behind it. Alright, let's talk about unordered and ordered lists. First things first, both the UL and the OL tag use the exact same sub tag, the LI or list item. As long as you have the UL and you have list items inside of it and you close the UL, you have a list. On the other side, you have an OL, you have the list item, and the closing OL, you have an ordered list. Both use the exact same LI system. Now, keep in mind that you cannot use LI outside of a UL or OL list. As long as you have an LI, it has to be inside one of these. Let's take a look at the two side by side. On the left, we have an unordered list using the same LI that we just talked about. And as you can see on the bottom, this creates the kind of circular dots. There are different ways to style these up. We'll get to those in CSS. But on the right, you have ordered lists. And again, these are not ordered by themselves. They are just ordered in the way that they are listed, not sorted. So by just changing the UL to an OL, not changing the LI at all, we have the dots turn into numbers. By default, the OLs automatically show numbers. We'll get to how to change that in just a minute. Now for most websites, they're going to be using an unordered list as a navigation system. This is an easy way to keep things separate instead of having to worry about tables or spacing or sidebars or anything else. You can make the navigation an unordered list so that way the items listed have an easy list to be displayed. And once you get into CSS, it makes things a little easier instead of having to worry about different spacing, different formats, yada yada yada. In this case, it's easy to access, easy to find. You can use standard tags inside of LIs, such as the anchor tags that we just learned about, and you can do other things as well. For ordered lists, you can actually change the order type. I mean, not the order that the way that the list items are, but the way they're presented. For an example, the default is 1, a type or the type attribute value of 1. That is the default. That means that items in an order list will be listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. If you change the type to capital A, that means that the items will be A, B, C, D, all capital. You change it to lowercase a, B, C, D, all lowercase. You change it to capital I, then it's going to be Roman numerals. So I, IV, V, etc. Lowercase I is the exact same thing but lowercase, so lowercase Roman numerals. I'm not gonna go through that again. You can also modify the ordered list to have a start value, and what that means is that if you specify the type or you just specify the start by itself, then that's where the list will start. For example, you have OL type equals 1, that's just the default, start equals 4, which means that item 1, 2, and 3 will start, 4, 5, and 6. You have type lowercase a, start equals 6, so A, B, C, D, E. F is number 6, so in that case you have item 1 as F, item 2 as G, item 3 as H. Again, just going down the list. You have capital I and start at 10, well that means it's going to start at Roman numeral 10, and then 11, and then 12. So based on that, you can tell where the list will start based on the start attribute. To play around with it a little more, you can have the reverse attribute, which is a Boolean attribute. This means that the value is either 1, as in is present, or it's 0, or it's false. You could have reversed equal true, which basically means the exact same thing as just having reversed there. So to show you what reverse does, by default we have 3 items, so you have 1, 2, 3. By adding the reversed attribute, it goes 3, 2, 1. Or if you have a type and a start specified, then it's going to reverse it from wherever it's starting. In this case, it's a lowercase I, so lowercase Roman numerals, and start phi, which means V, and then IV, and then III, etc. until it has nothing else left. Alright, description lists, also known as data lists or even definition lists. These are used to define terms and definitions for key terms and value pairs. These do not use the li tag that we learned for ordered and unordered lists. But they do have 3 parts. The description list, or the DL. This contains the list. This is the exact same thing as an OL or a UL tag, but for a description list. You have the description term, which states the item being used. You can use standard tags inside the DT tags as well, or pretty much in the DD tags as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. But it's just like the LI tag that you can use things inside of it. And lastly, you have the DT, or, I'm sorry, yeah, the DD, the description definition. This follows the DT, or the description term, and defines the item that's actually being listed. In the example, we have cats and dogs, and then the actual Latin name for them. I forget the exact terminology for that, but basically the Latin version of it. And in that case, it is the definition of the term in the list that's being described. Okay. You cannot use a DT or a DD outside of a DL, which means you cannot use the terms or definition tags outside of a definition list, or sorry, description list, old term. Alright, so let's take a look at nesting lists. We can actually incorporate different lists into different formats. In this case, we have a UL, or an unordered list, and an ordered list inside of it. The code on the left is invalid. I'll give you a second to look at it and think about why it's invalid. Alright, give up? Well, if you're not experienced with HTML code, it may seem a little confusing. This looks just like valid code. Why wouldn't it work? Well, the reason is this li right here, this closing tag. What happens is that we cannot have items inside a UL that are not list items. The same thing works for ordered lists. In order to have this secondary ordered list inside of a UL, we have to have it inside of a list item. So instead, let's take that closing li, put it after the ordered list, so that way all of the stuff in the ordered list is inside the list item of ice cream. That way, this makes nice valid code, everything works out, and you can nest and mix different lists. Now you should not mix unordered and ordered lists and description lists. You can technically, and it's valid code, but it's extremely bad practice. I do not recommend this. If you do it, more power to you, but I just would not recommend it. It's bad practice and it makes things really messy when you try to figure out exactly where the list is, where it ends, and etc. So, even though this may be valid based on the validator, it is not good practice, so don't do it. Alright, that is Chapter 5. If you have any questions about anything in Chapter 5 or this video specifically, please send me an email or hit me up on Twitter. I'll get back to you the best way I know how, and please take a look at your assignments and go ahead and get started on those as soon as possible so I can help you out.